First thoughts, fellas, when I say 1 year on from the Cricket World Cup final, what comes to mind?
Did we play that? I forgot about it.
Yeah, I guess for me it's one of those things you keep thinking will probably diminish with time, and it's still the thing I get asked about first when I'm out, at a party or on the street or whatever. It's still the thing everyone wants to talk about. So it looks like that. I suppose the passion for that game isn't going to diminish, at least in the New Zealand public, for a while yet, I think.
Yeah, Lockie, if I could just start just quickly with you and just pre-World Cup, your journey into being selected for that tournament and finding out that you were going to go to a World Cup. Can you summarise that for us, the start of that journey?
Yeah, look, I think it's sort of obviously the summer before. Made some steps to be a bit more consistent within the side, which is exciting. And of course, you've always kind of got the World Cup in the back of your mind, but I've always sort of tried to pride myself on taking it one game at a time. And yeah, that summer we had a great home summer. BLACKCAPS played some real nice cricket and sort of felt a bit more comfy in the side. And then, of course, we went over to India and had a few months there, which in all honesty was a bit of a struggle for me at the time. So coming back and seeing all the lads at the airport heading to the World Cup, it was just, even from just a mental health kind of point of view, it was just really good to see the family that I'm so used to playing cricket with, and sort of started that journey, which was a lot of fun.
And Jimmy, a year out from the World Cup, potentially you're still wondering, am I a big chance to make this World Cup? Am I a big chance to make it back into the BLACKCAPS?
Yeah, look, in all honesty, it wasn't something I was focusing on at all, I think. It's kind of well documented, the journey I went on leading up to the World Cup, and I was just really focused on getting back to Wellington and enjoying my cricket again. And it sort of was a bit of a roller coaster ride. It was sort of unbelievable looking back how fast everything happened. But to be playing for the BLACKCAPS again on New Year's Day against Sri Lanka at the Mount, having started in October as a domestic cricketer, was obviously a pretty surreal journey. And then was lucky enough to have enough performances during the summer to cement my spot, which, as I mentioned before, was a pretty unbelievable feeling.
Well, guys, I'm going to get you transported over to the UK. I've been putting in a bit of prep, as I like to do, and I've got some photos which will sort of try and take us back to that moment when we're over there, and I want you guys to sort of take me through it through your own lens. Hope you can see the first one there. It's the guys arriving. That's the guys. Just talk us through arriving over into the UK for the big tournament. There's not many better places to tour, is there?
Yeah, that's one of those classic feeling cute, might delete later kind of Instagram posts there. The boys looking very sharp there. Turned out, it certainly took me a few days to get over the jet lag, but a pretty easy place, I think, to get over it when we were sort of situated right in the mix with the London eye. So, pretty special time.
And we can see there, Matt Henry's obviously, as is his style, missed the memo with the jackets closed in the front row.
Here's a photo from the warehouse in back London with all the captains. I suppose, guys, one of the things that the fans probably don't always get to see is the build-up and all the work that goes on and behind the scenes leading into a tournament like that. It's not quite your New Zealand cricket sort of quick photo shoot, headshots in the back of a hotel room. There's pretty extensive bat signings, interviews, all that sort of stuff. Does that kind of, I suppose, pique the senses, Nish, when you're on the cusp of something so big like that?
I think you'd be lying as a cricketer if you said you loved walking into that. I suppose the hotel room that they have set up with all the bats and the balls and all that kind of stuff. 100 of everything ready to be signed. It's a bit of a a buzzkill, for lack of a better word. But it does really ram home, I suppose, the significance of what's about to happen. And usually for a home tour in New Zealand, you might have a dozen shirts and a couple of bats, whereas I think it was in the order. It was well over 100, the number of things we had to sign in that room. And obviously, they didn't quite have enough seats for some of the smaller nations of world cricket to sit down for that photo shoot. But it obviously didn't faze us too much.
Yeah, interesting. Only Kane and Virat seem to be smiling as well. I'm not sure if the memo hasn't quite got through, but we'll move on to the games now, guys. And, you really, bang, got him, Ferguson. You really hit the ground running. I suppose, what was it like on the cusp of that game, Lockie, and how satisfying, I suppose, or good was it to get into the tournament with such a dominant win over Sri Lanka?
Yeah, I mean, look at the pitch there. Isn't that the kind of pitch you want to play on as a nasty, fasty first game World Cup? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty nervous heading into that game. Obviously, there was nervous energy playing Sri Lanka first game. Have some very exciting players, and certainly turning up to see that pitch. It sort of tickled my fancy. I'm not sure how the batters exactly felt that day, but yeah, bowling first change is one of those interesting ones as well, because on a green wicket like that, often the boys will bowl, plenty up the top, sort of 6-7 over spell on a green one. So it took a bit of time before I had a chance to bowl on it. But yeah, I certainly remember that pitch very fondly.
Yeah, well, thank goodness. I suppose you did win the toss there and there. The match figures 3 for yourself, 3 for Lockie. Nish, I even think you took one off Lockie in the gully there, mate. And of course, Marty and Colin knocked it off. I think literally 48 overs played in the day. It was a pretty early finish, Nation. Potentially some of you took advantage of that and, had a second innings later on after the game.
Geez, that sounds bad when you word it like that, Willy.
You hear the context now, mate. It wasn't as bad as it sounds, was it?
We luckily, I suppose one of the perks of the job is that a few of the more experienced guys on the team get to meet a few, I suppose, names around the traps. And luckily for us, Kane Williamson has sparked up a bit of a relationship with one of the Mumford and Sons. So they were having a concert up in London that evening. So we, when we realised how early we'd finish the game, Kane sort of did a quick whip around and asked who was keen, and a few of us, got swiftly back to the hotel, got our jeans on, and shot up to London for a good evening. And I'm not sure if it was Hyde Park. It was some park in London somewhere where they'd set up, and got a little glimpse of that concert, and then obviously got home and had a pretty early night. But no, it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, Lockie didn't make the cut for that one, or didn't want to go, mate?
I believe I didn't make the cut. Nah, I think everyone was invited to that. I think I had plans. One of my friends had flown over from New York to watch the first match, so I think we had plans that night. Dinner plans, of course. Early night too.
All right, yeah. Well, we're on to game 2 now, guys. This is the Oval in London. Wickets for Henners again. 4 wickets, 2 for Baldy, an economical one for you, Lockie. Bangladesh make 244. This is the scorecard there, and it's a little bit of a nervy chase, if we're being honest, isn't it, Nish?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to sound strange to people listening, but this is easily the worst I felt throughout the whole tournament, I think.
Oh, yeah.
With the start we had, you never obviously disrespect any team, but we had a friendly start to our draw, and it was really essential for us to go 3 from 3 in pool play. And to bowl Bangladesh out for a below par score on what was a pretty good wicket, and then to have a few hiccups through the chase. And obviously Kane and Ross had a couple of nervy moments with the run between the wickets, and then to have to watch, obviously we had faith in the guys down the order like Lockie and Matt Henry and Mitch Sandler, but to have to watch them, I suppose, do the job that I wish I could have been doing, that was definitely the most stressful part of the tournament for me.
You concur, Lock?
Oh my God, yeah, that was ridiculous. Yeah, not often that I make the sports photographs in the batting kit, but always a pleasure when I do. But yeah, look, it was one of those nervy times where the crowd, the Bangladesh fans at this game, like I've never really played a game before like that, where anything that we did well, the whole crowd was silent pretty much. And then whenever Bangladesh would score a run or anything that they would do, anything that was kind of good, this whole crowd would erupt. And just the noise that they were making, like I couldn't believe it. And certainly waiting to bat, padded up a bit early, obviously a little bit nervous. And then wickets sort of kept tumbling a little bit, got a bit nervy at the end. And God, yeah, my heart was certainly pumping. certainly looked up towards where all the girlfriends and wives were standing, and they didn't look as nervous as perhaps I was. But that certainly gave me a bit of a giggle at the time. They certainly were enjoying their time. But when I went out to the crease, I think Sats is probably the perfect guy to be talking to you at that time. He was so relaxed, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, you can't be this relaxed at this point in time. And then, the famous cover drive through first slip to get us 4 runs was, obviously essential to tie it up, and Sats smoked the 4 to bring us home. So pretty exciting times to be out the middle. And I guess to help to a win, but probably the most nervous I've ever been batting, I think, hands down.
Not to gloss over your little late cut either, Lock, or just off the outside edge. Was there one? Yeah. I remember that, mate. I've watched the highlights last night. I suppose part of those nerves were that the fact that a 10-team tournament, only 4 teams can go through. Any loss is going to be pretty crucial, especially with big games to come. So we went down to Taunton, Afghanistan, and Nish, you'll remember this game surely. A great performance from both of you guys. 9 wickets between you. Talk us through it, Jim.
Obviously, I think.
Here's the scorecard if you need it.
I remember it vividly, mate. Now, obviously, the conditions were in our favour again. I think we'd actually circled this game as a bit of a potential banana skin because of playing at Taunton, which, as the English fans will attest to, is obviously well known as a spin-friendly ground in England, and Afghanistan obviously have a couple of really high-quality spinners. So we were absolutely delighted to turn up on the day and see another emerald green surface like the one we played Sri Lanka, and we were fortunate enough to win the toss and bowl first, and the Afghanistani batsmen sort of came out with really no fear and nothing to lose, and really tried to take it to us. I think they were 60 odd for none after 10 overs, and that's when the nerves started to settle in. You think he could be chasing something.
Nish, your headphones are starting to go absolutely haywire, mate. Could you hear that, Lock?
It's on the way.
Hey?
Fourth pair on the way. Should I turn them off?
No, you've come back. What a comeback. Did you hear that, Ferg?
Yeah, I heard it too, yeah.
I wondered if I was going absolutely crazy. That's okay. Play on. I just gave him big raps earlier in the show for his AirPods, but they sound like they were fizzling, but we're back. Lock, what was that moment like? 2 Auckland Grammar School guys in the World Cup, taking 9 wickets, winning World Cup games for your country, living the dream. I mean, can you kind of encapsulate that for us?
Well, I think Nish deserved more than the 5 he got that day. All I remember is just, and I say this politely, sort of cleaning up the tail a little bit with a few catches at third man. Nish bowled exceptionally well that day, and there was a lot of good catching to be had as well. So it was awesome to see Nish, who's, I know, works very hard in his bowling as his batting, but I certainly think early in the tournament to get that kind of confidence boost, take a 5 for his first one, and take that forward into the rest of the tournament. I know how it went for him the rest of the tournament really well, but I've got no reservations that it sort of started there, and he got the confidence he needed, and it's awesome to see a guy who I guess was a bit of a big brother when we played school cricket, and then now that we're playing together in the same team, it's awesome to see him do so well.
Interesting to note in that game, Afghanistan was 60 for none after the opening 10 overs. So certainly a big spell from you there, Jimmy. And of course, Kane doing Kane things in the run chase. Him and Ross in the runs again as a big partnership. I think they put on 100. And then Kane doing what he loves to do for me, some media afterwards. We go on to the next match, and it's absolute rain out up in Nottingham. What were your guys' memories of that 5 days?
Yeah, you always want to get out and play any opportunity you can get, obviously against a team like India. But I think it's fair enough to say that getting the points for the draw out of that game put us in a really good position to look to make the semi-finals from then on. So it was kind of mixed emotions, I think.
Lockie, at that stage, a rain out, but you're 3 from 3. I suppose with the team kind of almost hanging out, they wanted to get back on, or were you happy to actually sit there? I mean, I think it rained for 3 straight days. We didn't even really train outside. What was that experience like in the middle of the World Cup?
Yeah, I think cricketers are pretty used to the rain and what comes with it. And I think the guys who, are in the squad were pretty good at switching on and switching off. I know we had a couple of great games of soccer volleyball in the indoors up there that got pretty heated. So there was certainly still a lot of competition to be had leading up to the game. But obviously no game to be had, which was unfortunate for many reasons. Because obviously we wanted to play, and I think it would have been an exciting game, but not to be.
I think it was after this game, guys, that we actually had that sort of 6 to 7 day even between the next match, which would be South Africa. And I remember the manager, Mike Sandel, saying, just get out of the bubble, boys, have a bit of a break. What did you boys get up to in that time, and did you find that beneficial?
Yeah, Mike Sandel, the little known coiner of the bubble term, a year ahead of his time. But obviously that's one of the things in our team is that I suppose there's that trust of allowing people to go away and get their own time and sort of recharge their batteries. And I was fortunate enough to I had one of my flatmates in New Zealand playing in the Netball World Cup for New Zealand. I just down the road in Liverpool, so managed to shoot down there and catch one of their games and shoot back on the train and just get away from cricket really and recharge the batteries for what was obviously a pretty massive second half of the tournament.
Yeah, I took it easy. I must say, I just chilled out there. I think I bought a raincoat in those 7 days, so obviously well 7 days.
Absolutely, fair enough. It's fair to say some people got further out of the bubble than the others. Then we arrive at South Africa. Wow, this was a fantastic game. I mean, we elect to bowl. I think that's 4 from 4 games in the World Cup at that stage. We're bowling first. South Africa post 2-4-4 on a bit of a sticky pitch. Lockie, you're in the wickets again. Firstly, mate, take me through that 2-ball combo to Faf Duplessis, because that's something I'll always remember. I think you went short and then, you knocked over the stump, which might be the celebration here.
Yeah. Well, it was sort of early on in that spell, I was bowling to Faf, and he smoked me through the covers a couple of times. And as you were sort of mentioning, it was a bit sticky. So we were trying to sort of pitch the ball up a little bit, try to get those edges. But it just didn't seem to be doing anything and kept finding the middle of Faf's bat, which was not a lot of fun. And so I guess having refreshment down at sort of fine leg, I had a bit of a think and thought perhaps I should resort to the old 1-2 punch, which has worked for me in the past. And, and it's sort of one of those amazing moments where in my mind, of course, the bumper came out as I intended it, and it was a nice one and sort of got a bit of a smile from Faf. And then next ball, I just thought, I might as well go wide of the crease, try to create a bit more of an angle here and see if I can slide one under his bat. And I remember my head still being down when I heard the ball hit the wickets. And then, as you can see, probably in my celebration, I was surprised and then sort of had to celebrate after. So certainly a pretty special moment. But yeah, pretty stoked about that. The old 1-2 punch still works.
Jimmy, the chase, it was a sticky wicket. It did get tough in parts. Obviously, Kane did sort of alpha Kane things, and even Colin de Grandhomme came in with a pretty crucial 60 off 47 right when that run rate was sort of starting to climb.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it wasn't an easy wicket. I think 241, I think through a lot of the games in the tournament, 241 was a defendable total. And I remember coming out to bat and Chris Morris bowled me a delivery, my first or second ball, that was just an absolute corker, kind of seamed, hit the wicket, held up, kind of kissed past me. And I remember thinking, geez, this is actually going to be a tough score here. And myself and Kane batted for a little while. We had a little bit of a partnership where we were kind of struggling to keep up with the rate, but that's the beauty of having someone like Colin de Grandhomme down the order behind you, is that you know that if he has one of his days and he gets going, pretty much no run rate is too much. So myself and Kane were just trying to get to a position where he could have a platform to come in. And the couple of cool heads out there, Kane, one of the cooler in world cricket, obviously brought us home in what was a pretty crucial win.
Yeah, well, I think that's obviously the sweep shot that he hit, sweet as a nut over cow corner. And then that's him sort of walking off, kind of looking classically bemused as he does when he does something like that and wonders what all the fuss is about. And then I get him to do the media and he looks even more gutted. Lockie, do you remember watching Kane get down on one knee and hit that six? That's one of my vivid memories from the dugout, and I suppose that was a moment when it was like, we on this World Cup. This is on.
Yeah, I'm not a great watcher of cricket when we're batting, if I'm honest. So I sort of come out to watch the moment and then duck back into the changing room and pace around, and you sort of hear the noise of the crowd, and you're like, is that a six or a wicket or what is that? So you have to go out and have a look. But no, I definitely saw him hit the winning runs. That was pretty special. I remember Timmy was pulling me in, making sure that I watched it. So, but yeah, no, pretty epic game. One of those great crowds as well. That the energy was, throughout the whole day was fantastic. So great to get the W there.
I was going to ask you, Lockie, what the bowling unit was doing in the changing room, because the lads lose the plot at the best of times when the pressure's on. I imagine Tim and Trent were sort of throwing sausage rolls at each other, or turning someone's bag inside out or something at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Certainly when we're bowling, you feel more comfortable when it's a skill that you've trained and you feel that you can complete. But as a bowler coming into bat, you're I guess a little bit less confident, and not in the batters ahead of us, of course, but that we would have to be out there, much like the Bangladesh game. And, it sort of happens all in slow motion, and cricket's one of those games. It's just like one moment at a time, and you're sort of, pacing up and down nervously. But now the boys are okay. And I think probably that day I was probably the worst.
It's fair to say Tim Southey's pretty relaxed in there, isn't he? Like, he's not always the best for keeping you calm. He's just on a bit of a joyride, waiting to go out there to bat next.
Yeah, he's a big kid, but we all are really, so that's great.
All right, boys, well, we'll keep whipping through the games. And, I mean, they're cracking games. That South African one, fantastic on a bit of a sticky pitch. And then this one here on probably a better deck against the West Indies. But I think we were almost 0-0. None for two, after losing both openers for 0. And then Kane come in again, 148. Roscoe, another big stand with him. Bolty gets 4 for 30, I think. Lockie, you got 3 for, I think you're 14 wickets in 5 games at this stage. But then the game sort of changed an instant, didn't it? With Carlos Brathwaite, sort of remember the name. I mean, what were you guys thinking as this sort of match just absolutely turned on its head?
Oh, okay. It was one of those another crazy game. I think the World Cup was full of them, really. But as we all love cricket, it always takes different turns throughout. And, obviously when we sort of lost early wickets, we thought we were struggling. And then the boys pulled us back and then got us to a good total that we thought. And the way the lads have been bowling, we thought we could defend it. And then started really well. I think Chris Gale got off to a bit of a heater at the start. But yeah, Carlos Brathwaite, a very tall timber kind of guy, hits a long ball, especially when pitched up. He finds the rope pretty easy, and he batted exceptionally well that day. But yeah, pretty exciting finish. I think Nish, you're probably better to explain that finish than me.
Yeah, here you can see me sledging Carlos over Kane's shoulder while they're trying to console him. I think it was an amazing innings, and I think, I can't see the scorecard, but I think we might have even had them 150 for 5 or something. So they were a long way off, a long way out of the game, and then for him to come out and play the innings he had was pretty amazing. And then to come in bowling to a guy like that on 100 when I think they needed maybe 13 or 14 off 2 overs. It's obviously a pretty intimidating situation, but I guess that's one of those times you kind of come up with a plan and stick to it no matter what. And we're obviously another one. We got away with another one, eh? How good?
Yeah.
He was literally hitting them for 6 kind of everywhere, wasn't he? That massive big wingspan, those huge levers. Nish, how much confidence did you get from bowling at the death there? Because it would actually come to be quite a feature of the tournament as we got deeper. You bowling some, overs right when it counted.
Yeah, thanks, Kane. It's obviously one of those things. If you've got a half decent mathematical mind about you, you can keep a track of the scoreboard and know what's coming your way. Once guys like, well, not so much Lockie, but guys like Heeners especially, we tried to use them a lot more up top to try and swing the ball around. I'm normally at long off or long on, looking at the scoreboard ticking down, going, oh yeah, I think I've got 2 more overs left here. And yeah, it seemed to be just the way the tournament went. Kane had kind of come and give me a smack on the bottom as he ran past me in about the 35th over and go, yeah, you got the 48th and the 50th, mate, no worries. So it obviously gave us a chance to try and use the big boys up top and try and penetrate a little bit more into teams' batting lineups. And yeah, I think against India and then again in the final against England, I sort of found myself in that situation, which is where you want to be when the game's on the line, I guess.
And obviously a great catch on the boundary there from Trent Boult to finish that one. This picture sort of tells the story of the next game. Lockie, you mentioned the noise at the Oval against Bangladesh. I reckon this one at Edgbaston against Pakistan was off the Richter, wasn't it?
Yeah. They're a very passionate bunch of fans as well. So, it was one of the other games that it's just the noise. You almost lose your train of thought a little bit when they cheer like that. But it's nice when we do well and they stay quiet. You know that you're doing the right job.
Well, it was a bit of an interesting game because we were in a bit of trouble early on. I think we had to bet this game just to sort of mix it up, same as West Indies. And Jimmy, you had to get us out of trouble with Colin de Gronholm. Both of you playing 2 of what we'd call probably your more mature innings.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I think first and foremost, I got a bone to pick with the ICC ticketing office because they got the Pakistan fans and friends and family and the New Zealand friends and family completely mixed up. So we had all the Pakistani fans around us, around our viewing area, giving us grief as we were going to and from the ground the whole day. And obviously our friends and family were about 40 meters away over the other side of the ground, which wasn't ideal. But look, I think we turned up. I mentioned we had a few favourable pitches at the start of the tournament. And we turned up to play Pakistan on day 3 in Chennai, which obviously wasn't what we were hoping to come in on. But it was just a case of trying to get a defendable total, I guess. And Colin de Gronholm again, as he does sometimes, came out and just played his natural game and managed to get us up to a defendable total. But unfortunately, Babar Azam played a pretty magnificent innings. Obviously, the quality player of spin he is, and managed to take them home. But I think in the greatest scheme of the tournament, I think they knocked us off maybe in the 47th or 48th over. I think being able to drag that run chase out that long was actually pretty significant moving forward.
It was kind of an interesting stage of the tournament, wasn't it, Lockie? You guys basically had won all your games. You'd had a rain out against India and you're on the cusp of qualifying for the finals and you had Australia next up. What was that like to prepare at Lord's for such an iconic match?
Yeah, amazing place to play cricket. Fortunately, I played there the year before with Derby in a first-class match. So had bowled on the slope, which on TV is pretty hard to tell, but certainly when you're there, it's pretty noticeable. And it's always nice just to have played there before you have big games. But yeah, I remember absolute scorcher of a day against Aussie, and as New Zealand versus Aussie always is a huge spectacle. And playing them at Lord's was exceptional. And my parents, once again, were over for that match. So I remember before the game sort of finding them in the crowd and going saying hi as we were sort of mucking around kicking a soccer ball. And I think those kind of moments are pretty special because, you're at a big tournament, big crowds, the pressure's immense and you're dealing with how you can. But seeing your parents there just smiling and just happy to be there and enjoying a rosé or 2, that's pretty special. So, but I do remember it's quite funny at Lord's, of course, you're allowed to take in, I think, maybe like 1 bottle of champagne per person or something. And I didn't really think about it too much before, except for this particular day. I was fielding a deep square, and next thing I hear is like poop, and then a cork hits me in the back. So I turned around and I was like, what the hell? And there's like an Aussie guy like, g'day mate kind of thing. And then as 2 or 3 overs progressed, there was about 3 or 4 cork bottle tops, littered around me that I had to. So all of a sudden I was trying to focus on fielding the ball and then also trying to get rid of the bit of litter that Aussie had been putting around. So that's pretty funny at Lord's. You don't really get that anywhere else.
It was a ferocious start to the game. Remember around the corner, Martin Gupta with that screamer. Nish, you took one, had them in real trouble. It must have been a pretty exciting atmosphere. I think at one stage they were sort of 46 for 4, then 83 for 5, but got themselves through to a decent total, which proved too much in the end.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I guess we did have them in a lot of trouble, but yeah, they're a pretty quality outfit, and I think Alex Carey and one of the tail enders down the bottom got them through. Yeah, Pat Cummins with 20 odd managed to get them through to what was probably a slightly above par total. It was a difficult wicket, and then obviously with their pace attack and Nathan Lyon, it's a pretty tough task once you sort of get behind the game. And I think we were a little bit disappointed with this game, if we're being honest. I think we were really excited for the challenge. I think Australia at Lords was a fixture on the list that we'd had circled since the fixtures came out, and to put up a below par performance like that was pretty galling for the lads, and we really wanted to make it right moving forward, and unfortunately we didn't. We played poorly against England again next game, I think, but obviously we managed to get it right in the end.
This is probably right just before that cork almost hit you, Lockie.
Yeah, you might see one if you look closely. I could have kept one.
Yeah, certainly one of the great places just to be around cricket. You mentioned England there, boys. It was only one win would seal it, but there was also that in the back of the mind, the net run rate and everything like that. The outside perspective was probably that the team was losing momentum. Obviously, three losses in a row. Can you give us a bit of an insight into how you guys took those last 3 games once you'd known that you had qualified for the final? Maybe you, Nish, what the feeling was actually in the camp?
Look, obviously, you never go out onto the field accepting a loss, but I think we did know that if we put decent showings together and didn't get absolutely met in a game, then we more than likely qualify. I think Lockie was icing a calf or something for the England game. I think from memory you could have played, but we didn't want to risk it, and it was sort of one of those things where you just had a week off, and we wanted to put a good showing together, knowing that England would in all likelihood be one of the teams that we might have to face in the knockout stage, but obviously not to be. I think we got a little bit met up top from memory with the new ball. Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow had a bit of a day, and we couldn't really ever peg them back, and potentially it was one of those days where you get a bit of your bad luck out of the way as well, with a few umpiring decisions and the like, but things like Kane getting run out at the non-striker's end. I think we'd look back on that and go, it wasn't our best performance, but then the change room after the game, obviously when Steady came out with the calculator and sort of said that I think Pakistan had to beat someone in 7 overs or something in the next pool game to overtake us, and the lads sort of let out a bit of a hoot and a holler, and had a bit of a good time together in the change room, and sort of moved forward knowing that we in all likelihood had made the semi-finals.
There was one Kiwi who did have a bit of a standout day. I don't remember if you remember this bloke just busting tackles.
He came out from right behind us. Like we were sitting, obviously, running the waters for the boys, and he was parked up right behind us, and he was kind of talking about it a little bit. We could hear him over our shoulder the whole time. He said, "Oh, I need to make something happen here. I need to make something happen, make this game entertaining." And he did well, actually. Got away from the security guards the first time, was doing a bit of showboating. I think he did a cartwheel, which was not always the greatest thing to see. But anyway, certainly an interesting spectacle for the fans.
This was a seriously strong carry from this guy, I believe was from the south of New Zealand. And then obviously Kane and Bears having a chat post-game. Right, guys, we're at the semi-final stage. We've worked through the pool stage. Thanks for staying with me here. You're playing India in a World Cup semi-final. It probably doesn't, other than a final, obviously, it doesn't get much bigger than that. Jimmy, can you remember the build-up to that match, and I suppose what the key sort of objectives were for you guys to get into that game?
I can't remember so much the build-up. I remember the hype-up of the game, and I remember a lot of big words coming from a lot of media pundits about how we were the also-rans in the semi-finals and how India were going to come out and trounce us and move forward to the final. I think it lit a little bit of fire under the lads moving into the game. I think we felt a little bit disrespected, and obviously we knew that we had the ability to put together a performance worthy of being semi-finalists. And we were greeted by something that could probably be described as a bit of a dog track, to be perfectly honest. It was a pretty terrible surface for batting, and I think the rain came when we were 210 odd, maybe, with about 3 or 4 overs to go, and Kane and Ross had really, and Towie as well, had really grafted and put a whole lot of effort in to get us to a respectable total, and then to go home to the hotel that night and have to listen to some of the junk that was coming out of people's mouths about how we'd batted terribly, and Ross and Kane had let the team down, all that kind of stuff. And we wanted to come out on day 2 and on day 2 of a one-dayer and really show what we're made of. And the lads did magnificently at the end there to get, I think, 28 or 30 odd off the last 3 overs, and then we came out with the bit between our teeth, and the nasty fasties took the best top order in world cricket down. And that was obviously one of the special moments I'll remember forever in a BLACKCAPS shirt. I think that feeling 10 or 15 overs in, when we knew we were rolling into them, that's probably one of my greatest feelings as a New Zealand cricketer, I think.
Absolutely straddling up there as well, Nish. You mentioned that total. You mentioned that the criticism of how many runs were actually on the board heading into that second day. Lockie, the assessment of a good total on that pitch via Ross and Kane, how important do you think that was to, setting up that, pretty memorable victory?
Yeah, well, it was one of those early 200 scores, that we'd been, been happening throughout the whole tournament. So certainly from my point of view, I thought we were on par, if not slightly above, because certainly when Ross and Kane came in and told us how tough it was for them to bat on that wicket, the bowlers tend to lick their lips a little bit at that and think, okay, well, maybe, it's obviously going to be just as hard. And then, of course, the rain came and covers went on, and, the pitch, as it does, sweats up nicely, which often makes it even tougher to bat on. So certainly that night going to sleep, it's kind of an interesting position, I guess, being the underdogs of the game. And I think the pressure certainly rested on India's shoulders, but I was pretty excited about going and bowling on that the next day, and in my mind I'd pictured that the pitch was way worse than it probably was, and whether that helped or not, I don't know. But the way that Trent and Matt Henry Tezza opened up the next day was unbelievable. So certainly aided by some good catching by Nish, of course. But yeah, just the wickets falling like that, it was kind of one of those, I think Nish mentioned it earlier, where in cricket things, you don't get that luck and things don't quite go your way, or the DRS just misses the stumps. But certainly the first 15 overs was pretty amazing how things just went our way. And, we got stuck right into the middle order in a high pressure situation, and we could sort of control the game a bit easier from there.
Control the game as long as you could, but these two here, I mean, absolutely world class. I think they put on over 100, more than a run of ball after the struggles of their started top order. Jimmy, did you feel at any stage like that was getting away from you after being in such a dominant position?
Look, I think you ride the highs and the lows of a game. I think especially in a pressure game like that, you understand you're not always going to have your foot on the throat. And I think that was the beauty of the whole tournament, I thought, was because a lot of the totals were those kind of 240, 250 totals. It did actually give teams enough time to regroup and then go again. Whereas when you have games that are sort of 320, 330, if you knock the top off, the game's pretty much over. So we knew the quality they had in their lower order. Jadeja played an unbelievable innings. I think he struck it 50 or 60 higher than anyone else did in the entire game. And when you got someone like MS Dhoni at the crease, you're never feeling comfortable. But then, if someone like Martin Guptill in the outfield doing something like that, especially as the man who knew he had to bowl the next over, it obviously makes you pretty happy. Yeah,
amazing sort of see to look at that, just seeing that emotion from you guys who are usually so cool and collected out there. What was that like, the moments winning the game, Lockie, and then walking off? You can see the fans there and having the families out there as well. How special was that?
Yeah, that was certainly for me a pretty amazing time. I think, when Guppy, he always does amazing things when I'm bowling. It's crazy. But when he ran him out from however far away it was and hit that one stump, that's pretty exciting that we sort of thought that after MS and Jadeja that there was sort of a bit more traditional tail enders that we could sort of bowl a bit better too. And, that moment I think was a big changer. And, super stoked for Guppy at that time. We all know how great he is at fielding, but to step up in a moment like that is pretty special. And, but yeah, it's pretty awesome coming off the field. And I know the players and girlfriends and wives all spent some time with us after the game and just, sort of embrace the time that we had with the realization that we'd made the final and, took photos and hung out there, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible kind of memories and scenes, and that's where we're going to go next is to the final, Lockie, which is the point where we'll look to bring in our English guests and drop you. We'll swap them out for you, but before we drop you out, your memories of that final, just off the top of your head. Obviously, there's probably many, but what comes to mind, and how do you recollect that amazing week?
Yeah, I'll let the other two guys sort of run through the final. I'm sure it'll be great to listen to. But I do have one pretty fond memory in that game when Nish came on to bowl, and I was sort of out deep cover, and with Nish tended to be a bit straighter towards mid-off kind of area. Well, not quite that far, but this time I was walking back out to the boundary, and the fans were sort of yelling out things, and I was smiling and as you do, sort of waving, and they were yelling out Fergie, and I got admittedly pretty distracted by them. I think I went up and signed a signature, and as I turned over my shoulder, Nish had started running in, and it was at that point that I realized that I was grossly out of position, right behind point. And Morgs undercut one, and I sort of was moving left trying to get back into position, and then found out that I had to boost right, and then it sort of all happened pretty quickly, and took the catch. And I honestly took the catch, and I know people have told me that it looks like I've dropped it. Nish, your face was pretty hilarious, I think, looking on the big screen when I took the catch. But I was so stunned that I'd taken a catch I was so out of position, but it had worked out perfectly with probably not Nish's best ball of the tournament, and to take out the English captain in a World Cup like that was pretty amazing. So certainly pretty funny, but it's funny how cricket works out like that.
Well, what do you expect, mate, when you take a catch like that and then you just put your head down on the ground and don't do anything? Like, what's the bowler that's 65 metres away meant to think?
Yeah, I just try to be humble, mate. Kiwis are humble guys, so take the catch, move on.
Is that because of how I reacted to my catch in the semi-final? Is that why you're talking about the humbleness?
Yeah.
Look, everyone loses their composure every now and then, mate. It's okay. It's fine to show a bit of passion.
Yeah, agree.
That's great stuff. Well, Lockie, mate, thanks for joining us 1 year on from the World Cup, giving us some of your memories, some of your insights. We appreciate that, mate. And good luck for the winter training. And then we hope to see you back on the park soon, man.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.